I'm fine. And she did. We trust. Maybe you didn't get your room on time. Maybe we didn't get the view we wanted. Maybe something happened that sort of put all our plans awry. But it's okay if we believe that there's trust, that there's flow. So trusting in ourselves, trusting in others, and trusting in whatever plan the X factor or the universe or God or divine or higher power, whatever you wish to call, just trusting, letting it go. To trust in others, we must trust in ourselves. Be transparent with ourselves. Be truthful with ourselves. And that same energy will begin to become the vibe of ourselves in our interpersonal relationships, and it will awaken the trust in another, to want to trust us. And it becomes so much easier to work together, to make partnership the new leadership. And then trusting in that power, the mother force in the universe, saying, hey, there's a million mothers watching out for me, I'm okay. No matter what happens, I'm okay. I trust. I trust. And it doesn't matter if that trust is broken or we perceive that it is broken. How does it matter? After all, you need just one key, that one trust gone right to unlock your destiny. It's actually quite similar to the risk-taking that we talk about in the entrepreneurial world. Professor Richard Daveni, I think if he's here, he's already arrived, from Dartmouth. I remember him sharing with me once, saying the difference between the American ecosystem and the Indian ecosystem, and the Indian ecosystem is changing now, we are becoming much less averse, but he said, you know, the American ecosystem celebrates risk-taking. It has an ecosystem which has resilience for failure. So you can try 1,000 times, and maybe you'll fail 80% of the times, but just because you tried 1,000 times, there's like 200 times that you turned right. But when you are risk-averse, when you close up in a shell because of one negative experience with trust, when it was not reciprocated, or when it was broken, when you have one negative experience, we go back into our shells wanting to never trust again. Let's not do that. Because trust in itself is the most rewarding and the most uplifting experience. So take that risk. Love more. Trust more. After all, some of you are from India, and there's a movie recently, and a very superstar Shah Rukh Khan says in that movie, "Ae dil hai mushkil, jab bazi ishq ki ho, to darna kaisa." When the whole game, or the whole bazi, it's difficult to translate, but when I'm betting on love, what's there to lose? Nothing. Nothing at all. And remember, the more you trust, because if you just restrict your trust to 10 people, you might have maybe 100% success rate, but that's just still 10 keys. And then if you expand, build in that risk and have resilience for the risk, and be okay with the risk and still trust the universe that whatever's happening is happening, then you take 1,000 chances, and even if you have a 50% rate of success, or 50% things that worked well, you still have 500. Or even if you have 10%, you still have 100, which is more than when you had 100% success rate and your catchment was small. And so when you trust in yourself, when you trust in the others, when you trust in the universe, something magical will happen. That universe, in its very mysterious ways, is going to start putting its trust on you. Each one of you is gifted with a purpose. You're here to do something, like everything in nature is. And when we have that act of courage of trusting, then it begins to trust you. It begins to open doors for you. It begins to offer you opportunities that you never imagined because you are there in trust. So that's all I had to say for the opening to all of you, that these 6 days take back home the infinite, unending wealth of trust. Good luck, everybody, and welcome to Mother India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, beautiful Rabeen, for inspiring us this morning and setting the tone for the rest of the week. I think that's a beautiful message for us to just keep with us, that the happiness of you is the happiness of me. It's as simple as that. Thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to invite Shrija to share her views and also guide us. Shrija?
Morning. My name is Shrija. I'm in the communications industry, so I lead media operations for a group called Publicis. The Publicis India part is my mandate. I have actually been pretty much a comms person all my life. It's a combination of advertising and marketing is where most of my career has been, based in India and about 8 years in Singapore. And I think what is critical, I absolutely agree with Hardeen, because I think the fundamental thing of leadership is trust. You are actually entrusting your team to take charge and lead the way. And to do it precariously in a way that they believe they're taking charge, but you also have some role in that, so that you can, pull back the right time or push them the right time forward if they are facing any such issues at their end. So it's difficult trusting many people, and that of course comes with a lot of experience. So what one tends to do is start their trust with a few, and then there is a trickle-down effect, because if you trust 3 people, those 3 people then trust 5 more people each, and then basically it's a circle of trust that grows, and then in turn you then start trusting those 5 people, those 3 people trusted. And therefore your circle of trust also grows. So not only is the overall circle of trust growing, but your circle of trust that is also growing. Because leadership is, it is, when you've grown up doing what you're doing, and then now you are supposed to be ensuring that other people do what you did a few years back. It's behavior that you tend to, take over from them. And this entire thing of it's their job. They also need to grow the way you grew in the industry, in your experience, and therefore it's that fine line that one draws. And also trust is, I think, critical, because many a times failures happen, and failures happen, and there's a learning from that failure. And as long as there is a clear learning from that failure, so that one can ensure that that sort of failure, if that same similar situation came to you, you could therefore deal with it in a different way, and not have the same issues coming back, then that is also a way of influencing your trust. So I think my experience has been extremely exciting in my professional life. I have spent years not only working with my colleagues in India, but it was also the 8 years in Singapore, where it was a completely multicultural experience that I had. There were people from South America, from North America, from Europe, from the Middle East, and of course a huge part of Southeast Asia. And different people deal with issues differently, There are the Indian traits of, Indians are a little more aggressive in nature, as you would have experienced some of your, and therefore it is about taking things a little more head on, versus a lot of the Southeast Asians are a little more cautious in the way they would approach a problem. But I think the critical learning for me was that I couldn't impose my way onto everybody, because everybody has their way of dealing with a situation, whether it's an opportunity or a problem, and therefore let them sort of figure out their way in a way that I had knowledge of it and I could affect a change if things were going not the way I wanted it to go. But understanding the cultural nuances, I think, is also critical and that was a big learning for me in Singapore, because as you know, and as I said, in India it's about, a lot of friendship works, in your professional life, do this for me, I'm jacked on my deadlines, and can you just help me out and stuff. Whereas there it's a lot more process oriented, and in that process you have to find a way of addressing your deliverable in a way that people think is important. So I'm looking forward to being here. I'm there for only half a day today, but I'm looking forward to taking in as much as I can in this half day, and I really wish you guys all the best for the next 6 days and going forward. Thanks.
Beautiful words, Shrita. Thank you. Such a beautiful resonance and connecting thread between what Harbeen said and what you said. Really beautiful. Thank you. So it just seems like trust isn't something you do. Trust is what you are. It just defines your being. So that's really a beautiful reiteration of that. Thank you. And with that, I want to invite Jean. She didn't respond. I apologize. Jane Shananda Boland, a psychiatrist and author coming from USA. Short. Short and powerful.
I wonder how many of you are here like I am, with a sense of adventure and a sense of, I wonder what's going to happen here. I wonder who I'm going to meet. I wonder why I even came, but something in me responded yes to this invitation. Just as something in me responded yes, as so many women did on January 21st of last year, when the women's marches began all over the world. And unlike protest marches that were full of anger and such, I was called, and it was true of all of them that I've heard of, I was called to leave San Francisco and go to Washington, D.C. to join the march in Washington. And in Washington, there was a sense of wonder. There were so many of us. And there were men and women and children and multi-generational people there, and everybody was so considerate and nice. There's something about when you are called, I call it heart activism, when you're moved to do something out of, call it the goodness of your heart, call it the humility of your heart. We were asked, the speakers this morning, to say something about ourselves with the short time we have, and I wondered about what to say about myself. First of all, I'm realizing that I'm here rather than at my 60th college reunion. That there is something about having the energy to either help people or to be creative or to become who you were meant to be that keeps you young, keeps you energized, keeps you on your path as long as you have a path to be on and a task that you have to do. And my path began when I was in high school and was full of myself. As most of you probably were, you were stars at some point in your life. You did well in school, you achieved something, you could be really full of yourself. And I was in high school. I had all these honors and things. And then I had an insight when I was up in the mountains, with people who were spiritual and people who were allowed spaciousness to happen out in nature. And I realized that nothing that I had achieved was my real doing, that I had been gifted by the parents, by the time, by the opportunities. And I looked at my brother, 4 years younger, who from the moment of birth had something wrong with him that they had difficulty figuring out what it was. And I realized I could have been him. And one of the things that I realize about so many of the situations that we are in now, that when you connect with someone else and you really hear their story, which I as a Jungian analyst psychiatrist do, everybody can look pretty good on the surface, but the amount of suffering and difficulties that you get in life, suffering is optional. Suffering is not optional, rather. It is doing something with the suffering that is a choice. And humility is part of the lesson. And the next thing after learning humility is to learning gratitude. Okay, as a adolescent high school student, when I realized how lucky I was, my first reaction was, how do I say thank you? And my way of saying thank you was to say, well, I could help other people. And I had the insight that I should be a doctor. That was not where my talents lay, by the way. But I had this deep insight. I did have a family history of doctors, but I wasn't scientifically minded. I was a history major and a debater, and I was going to be a lawyer. But I wondered, how do I say thank you? And how do I help people? How do I help people less fortunate than I am? And so I made a decision to be a doctor and persevered, because it wasn't so easy becoming a pre-med and etc. And it was kind of humbling to fulfill requirements that you didn't have a natural gift for. But to trust that somehow this was the path that we were meant to be on. And I did it all through college. But I had a sort of sense, well, if I had made a mistake, because essentially it was a religious, spiritual decision, I had promised God that I would be a doctor. And then by the time I was applying for medical school and did not feel necessarily that I would be accepted, I thought, well, I could have made a mistake with a message. And I was interviewed at the University of California, San Francisco, and really the interviews were very difficult, including the second one with the psychiatrist, in which I cried. And I thought, well, that was it. Forget it. And lo and behold, I got accepted into medical school. And then pre-med was academic. Medical school, I began working with people, and I began learning things that applied to people, that could help people. And it was a lot more interesting. Plus we had 10% women in my class, which was the highest in the country. There were many medical schools at the time that had no women in it. And there was a medical school just for women because women were so unlikely to get into medical school. So I was in a class of 10% women. And so I had my buddies and this is where I get the sense of sisterhood, brotherhood. There's something about the world I'm in as an author. Started with a book called The Taoist Psychology about synchronicity. Synchronicity is when, lo and behold, something that matters to you that you could not possibly have brought about comes about. That you stay on your path and the right person shows up, the opportunity shows up. amazing. And so my first book was on synchronicity, and the second one and the third one applies to all of us here, because it was about the archetypes or the gods and goddesses in us all. The deeper patterns that we came into the world with, the gifts we came into the world with that are represented by, in my case, what I wrote about, the Greek gods and goddesses. And when you do what you do that comes naturally, you are in touch with the deeper layers of your own psyche. And what you do has meaning. And as I did my work with individuals one at a time and learned about their suffering and how suffering gave life meaning, and they persevered, and I put them in touch to listening to their dreams as to what the path should be that they would be on. And that's one-on-one depth work over time. And then I wrote a little book called The Million Circle about women's circles and how they could change the world. How tipping point critical mass comes through circle rather than hierarchy. And it brought me to the United Nations in 2002. I would never have been there but for the book inspiring a group of women, who, 3 of which headed NGOs. And so the little book took me to the UN. Where I got it, there was not going to be another Women's World Conference. There had been one in Beijing, and I was meeting the women who'd been there, and it had inspired them to be leaders. They had gone there as younger women, and now they were all over the world running for office, being at the UN, being active. It was amazing. I thought, well, of course, if one was in 1995, the next one would be in 2005. No, not in 2005, not in 2010, never. You had your conference. And I thought about how conferences with women who go because they're called to go and because there's some change in the world and in themselves that brings them there, that what we needed was one. And so that is why you have a button on your tables by WCW, 5th World Conference on Women. India in 2022. And the reason 2022 has come up came out of a conversation with Harbin and Vinay. And my first reaction was, I didn't get 2022. I first thought, well, we'd work on 2020. But then somehow the meeting, something, again, the magic, the synchronicity, something happened to make me feel that's absolutely right. And something happened to shift me from knowing there should be a 5th Women's World Conference. The 4th was when there was no internet, for example. Now there are more smartphones in Africa, for example, than there probably are toilets. Women are linked and would be linked to a conference. So, this is what I call my assignment. And it grows right out of the same work I do, one-on-one, in-depth work. Only I put it in a different language. It's in the language of Carl Jung. It's individuation. I'm saying it's an assignment. If you have an assignment, only you can answer it from within. The questions are, is it meaningful to you? Will it be fun? It is fun to grow. It is fun to be with others who share your values. And third, is it motivated by love? Love is the only energy that the more you give away, the more there is. The more you have, the more world it has. And that's the idea of synchronicity and the help of the universe. The words that can be reduced to, in the Million Circle, there's a whole section, there's a whole quote, long quote, that can be reduced down to be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. Do it.
Thank you so much for those powerful words and that beautiful message, and sharing your absolutely remarkable legacy with us. An author of 13 books that have gone into 90 languages worldwide. Beautiful. With that, I'd like to invite S. Sandilia to speak with us. He's the chairman of the Asha Group. Welcome, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I want energy. I'm really delighted to be here with you all. I think I'm thankful Dr. Habib has invited me to be among all of you. I think it's indeed a pleasure and privilege. It is a microcosm of the world. As she said, 100 plus countries, people from all over the world have come in and are also listening from worldwide. I think it's indeed an honor to be here to speak on some subjects. I don't want to talk about myself, but I just heard about this organization first time last year when one of my colleagues, Secretary General of SOS Children's Villages of India, a not-for-profit organization taking care of 24,000 destitute children in India, Vijay Bansal was invited to this forum. I just came to know about this forum at that point of time. And another director, colleague of mine, is also associated with the organization, Rajan. I don't see it here or not. So that's the background that I'm here this year, and I'm happy that she invited me. The topic for the session was given as thought leadership, innovation, and sustainability. There were 3 topics, and she told me, speak for 5 minutes from your experience, and that's it. Okay, fine. Talking about these 3 subjects for 5 minutes, we'll be just giving the spelling and giving some meaning, and that's the end of the story. So what I will do is I'll pick up just one of them, called innovation. And I'll end the speech with some fun as well in the whole process. So innovation, when we talk about it, and I think it's the most talked about subject these days, anything and everything we talk about innovation. I broadly categorize them into 2 kinds of innovations. One is a product innovation, other is a process innovation. When you think of product innovation, we see it all around the world in terms of whether the Apple phones or the various kinds of gadgets that they come out with, the robots, the barcodes, and what have you. Every one of them is a product innovation, trying to deliver something to the customer which he or she will experience in using them. But only sharing from my experience, and I thought that would be a little better than talking about the modern gadgets. I'll go back to about 4 decades before, or maybe 3 decades. When we started our commercial vehicle business in India with Japanese collaboration, there were only 2 people manufacturing vehicles in this commercial vehicles in this country. And 4 companies came in with Japanese collaboration. The practice in those days was that these vehicles will be driven out as chassis, their body, the engine, the transmission in the background, and the customer who has paid for this and is going to run it for paying its installment from day 1 has got to go and get the bodies built outside, which meant it took about a month or 2 months to get the body built. To that extent, he is already earning, paying interest, or the interest clock is ticking, and he has got to also pay his equal monthly installments. So what we thought when we came in with this business for the first time, I said, why don't we make a change in the methodology? We started offering built-up vehicles. We went and did the bodybuilding ourselves, whether it's a half body, full body, buses, ambulance, medimobiles, medical clinics, and what have you, including soft drink carriers. In those days, the Pepsi, the Coca-Colas came to this country. So we started getting these manufactured with vendors and got them on board, and we started selling vehicles which are usable from day 1, which I would consider it as a product innovation, from delivering a product to the customer who can use it from day 1. We changed the entire ecosystem of commercial vehicles in this country. Now every other manufacturer starts offering a built-up vehicle because the customer can use it from day 1. That so-called current day technology, terminology of plug and play. He just buys it, has got the loan, installed it, goes and runs the thing, starts earning money from day 1 and starts paying. That is one example of product innovation. Talking about process innovation. Basically, all organizations, whether it's commercial or not-for-profit or government, all of them have 3 P's. The 3 P's are purpose, process, people. Purpose, process, people. Organizations use their people resources to engage in certain processes which ultimately make them achieve the purpose for which they have started the organization or they are in the organization. So in the middle part of it, process is important because that's the only thing that we have control. The result is a consequence. I think all of them have talked about various processes, trust, relationships, and so on, and engaging with people. I think how do we ensure that leadership in the organization delivers results? At the end of the day, we are working with people in a cultural context or an ecosystem, go through certain processes, and then deliver the purpose or achieve the purpose. What do we do in these processes? How do we improve productivity? How do we improve it to ensure that we deliver the best possible, the best quality, the best time that the customer is looking forward to from the organization or people? So the process innovation or changing the processes to ensure higher productivity is important. Here again, I will share with you a 2-decade-old experience in Aisha. In our company, we had one very unique process to involve all the employees. We had 900 employees at that time under one forum to devise strategy for the company for its future implementation of what the company will do, where will it go. It's a technology invented by Kathy Dallemiller in the USA, which she had experienced and done it all the while, but in India no one had done it. So we invited her, and we felt that we can Indianize the whole process and make it worthwhile. And imagine, just like the round tables, we had people starting from the chief executive, that was me at that point of time, and all the employees, including a worker and a staffer, and all the levels of employees, sitting and discussing and thrashing out the issues and problems that the company is facing, and how can we resolve and ensure productivity. It is a fantastic experience. 900 people, all levels, engaging in a process of collective evolution of strategy and implementation. The theory is critical mass. When you have a critical mass of people coming to conclusion, coming to alignment, implement it, the whole roads are fantastic. There's only one item of experience I want to share with you, and that transformed our organization. The processes improved, productivity improved tremendously. Now, just 2 small points I want to share in terms of fun. I thought I asked Harvita, can I have some fun? She said yes. She emphasized a lot on trust. How do we spell trust? T-R-U-S-T, right? I defined this T, the first letter, as a point, one horizontal line at the top and one vertical line at the bottom, right? The vertical line represents I, as an individual. The horizontal line, everyone else that I'm in touch with, that I'm in contact with. Just remove the T, what happens? Trust. The relationship trust. So I think it's extremely important that we trust people around us, trust people we connect with, and ensure that we succeed. The last one I want to just mention the word innovation. Again, play with the words and play with fun. How do you spell innovation? I-N-N-O-V-A-T-I-O-N. You can go into details. Innovation. Innovation. In no way shun innovation. Promote it, ensure that happens in all organizations.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. And also for shedding light on the functioning of one of the most successful organizations and the most trusted organizations in our country. So thank you for that. And with that, I would like to invite Mr. Sushil Kumar Syal to also speak with us. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's indeed a privilege for me addressing this forum comprising of foreign delegates and people from diverse domains. I will dwell upon a sector which I know, that's real estate, and I am actually connected with real estate for the last 35 years. I don't know anything other than real estate. And interesting part in real estate is that all of us sitting over here, sometime or the other, get involved in this. Either we buy a house, we sell a house, we lease a house. Somewhere in our life, at some stage in our life, we are all connected with this. In India, real estate so far was known to be run by, I'm sorry to say, crooked people. Whenever you say he's a real estate developer, other person will say he's a crooked people. Most controversial sector. Couple of years back, I thought that I am working in this sector, I must start compiling my life experiences, because always I used to think that business can be done in other way as well. while compiling my life experiences, being a civil engineers globally are known for bad English. And I used to keep one letter pad on my table, and every evening I thought that whatever I have gone through, how my kids or the world will get to know, I used to write one or half page at the end of the day. At 7 in the evening, before closing my day, I used to write whatever I remember. And in 5-6 months, this pad was full. And one fine evening, one friend of mine, he was a top journalist with one of the media house. He said, "Can I drop in for a cup of coffee?" I said, "Sure." He got late and I was still writing, and when he got in, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I am writing my autobiography." He said, "Hey, civil engineer, you people don't know plain English and you are writing autobiography." He just took that pad from me and started, looking at the pages. He said, "Sehal, you have got elephantine memory. Can I take this pad with me and read this tonight?" I said, "Sure." So he took that with him. Next day he called me. He said, "I want to share this with one of the publishing house, which is run by a friend of mine." He shared that with them and they said, "We can publish this as a business book." Last year that book was published by Penguin, and that is Inside Unreal Estate. I recommend all of you and your kids, if they can go through that book. It's like a story book. It's very inspiring. And when Penguin 6 Editors Board choose that book, they said that nothing worldwide has been written in real estate. There was one book which was written by now American president, and another was, I know you don't want to read that, but the another one was written by one of the top real estate company here in India, by Mr. K.P. Singh, and rest are coffee table books, and he said it's very interesting. And in that book, in fact, I started with a story of mine. I belong to a family where my father was accounts clerk and very average background, who were in a village where proper even education system was not there. And in India, if you people are aware of that, we used to sit on mats, and that's how our study started. But one dream was there, because we used to live in government housing, and engineers used to make a lot of money. Engineers were one class, they were given mighty jeeps, contractors were running around them. They used to make money both ways, from the job and the other way as well. I told my father that this is what I want to do in my life. I want to become a civil engineer. So story what I give here to the younger generation is that whatever you decide in life, no one can stop you. I got average marks in my school, could not get admission in an engineering college, and then settled for a diploma course. Once I did that, the only way they said you can get in a degree college is if you have got first or second position, and I stood first there and got into the degree college. From there, my journey of civil engineer started. I had a dream that now I'll be driving mighty jeeps, but in India, to get during those days job as a government engineer, Mr. Sandilya will support that either you need to have a political link or you need to have money in my pocket. My father said, "Gentlemen, I have given you education. Beyond that, nothing is possible." I came for search of a job from small town to the capital of the country, moved from one construction site to the another in Connaught Place, and everybody said that you don't have experience, so we need experienced people. And one day I happened to meet one of the top developer consultants, and I spoke to that gentleman, "Sir, please tell me where I can get experience, because wherever I go, everybody asks me that, do you have any experience?" So he was very happy with my innocence, and he offered me a job of training engineer. I was very excited, very charged. When I got to the project site, I thought that what was in my mind as a civil engineer, that mighty jeeps and people running around you, they gave me a job of measurement of pit in the evening how much excavation has been done, you need to reconcile with number of trucks going out of this site. You know, why I'm telling you all this story is that my project manager over there, you know, who used to counsel me, I said, sir, I am here temporarily for a job. Finally, I want to get into the government job and I want to make money. That's my ultimate dream. Every evening he used to tell me that why you should not make money the wrong way. It took him a couple of years to transform me, and he said, man, in Sanskrit they say, karmanne vadi karaste mam parishu kadachan. You do your best, don't care for the outcome. And I was the one, when I started my career, in 9 years of my career, I got 7 promotions. I was the youngest project manager wherever I worked. I had a dream coming from that background to become or get a top position in one of the top real estate companies. Today I am again privileged. I was last year.
Thank you, sir. We're out of time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last year, you know, a couple of years back, I started an outfit which was Alpha G Corp, and global player Morgan Stanley took over that company. And last year it was taken over by Blackstone. Then I started with Bharti as a managing director for the real estate arm. Government of India also now has come out with a lot of policies, which I wrote in that book. If you go through that, I said that this business is going to go for a total change. People used to laugh at me. And today, how the things are changing, how the winds of change are blowing, you'll be surprised that whatever was written 5-7 years back, the things are moving absolutely that way. So my suggestions to all of you, a lot of young kids are sitting over here, that you need to have vision. Focus on that, and I can tell you with my experience, nobody can stop you reaching there. Thank you.
Wonderful message, especially for our young leaders sitting. Actually, they walked in that moment when he said that nobody and nothing can stop you. Thank you so much. And it's my pleasure to invite, on that note, our last speaker for this session. I invite the lovely Dr. Shruti Nada Podar to come and share her journey with us. She's the founder of the Shakti Shloka.
I don't know how you got that, but namaste, and I'm delighted to be here with all my brothers and sisters. I would just like to say that I've been very fortunate to have had a very diverse journey in my life. Born in Calcutta, moved to Delhi, had to leave 2 husbands, I must admit. Had a stint at the House of Lords, and went from there straight to the grassroots of India. And the biggest lessons of leadership, I must say, I learned at the grassroots. Everywhere else in my life, I was very privileged, always very privileged. But everywhere in my life, I noticed that things would stop mostly at drawing room conversations. And at quest for being visible, for getting titles, for getting noticed. And I found that pretty worthless at the end of it. So I decided to shift gear, and I decided to shift gear because I had a vision. And that vision was that God has given me so much, has given me many talents, has given me the opportunity to travel all over the world and to work with different kinds of people all over the world and gather many skills. But for what? What is the purpose? So one day I thought, why is it that I don't follow one talent and make a profession out of it? Why do I enjoy so many things? And it came to me that maybe I was meant to share many things with a lot of people, maybe with a community. And so that vision was that I had to find that piece of land where there was community, where I could work with them. And I began to search for that community. And I traveled, and I knew in my heart that that community was in India. And at that time, I was in the UK. I was married to a lord. I was a lady, enjoying a lot of privileges and benefits, but I didn't enjoy it. So I decided to leave that life, and I began to search for that land in India. And I began that search in 2012. I went to many villages in India. And then one very hot summer day, in the middle of May 2013, I had a vision that I had to go to a place called Ramgarh Shekhawati in Rajasthan, which I knew belonged to my ancestors. And I'd never been there, but I just decided to go. And I went there on 29th May, which was the hottest day. It was 49 degrees on that day. And when I went there, I had given up my maiden name 30 years ago, but when I went there, I readopted my name again, my maiden name. And within 20 hours of being there, by sunrise the next day, I knew that this was the place that I was looking for. One, because there was a certain feel in those people which I recognized. I don't know what I recognized, but there was some inner recognition. I'm sure all of us sitting there understand what I mean. Second, I found that this languishing little town was one of the most beautiful towns I had seen, with so much heritage that was at the threat of destruction. And I decided that day that whatever happens, I will save it, because it's not just about saving physical heritage, it is about saving a creative consciousness which was there in that population 150 years ago, but it had gone. It was there somewhere within, but it was hidden in the debris of trying to make a living. So I decided to work with all my heart and soul to revive that creative consciousness. And I'm going to take just 2 minutes more. And in that journey, which is now 5 years, I learned a few things. And that is where I come to. How does leadership become sustainable? And innovation is a necessary part of it. One doesn't need to say it. And here, because I don't have any time, I would just like to quote. There are 26 qualities that Krishna, I don't know if you've heard of Krishna, but Krishna describes to Arjun in the Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter. I would just take up the first line which describes 4 qualities. Abhayam, fearlessness. Sattva, equanimity and calm. Samshuddhi, purity of intent. Jnana, wisdom, knowledge, information. And yoga, vyavasthiti, which means unity with all. And to achieve that unity with all, the things that I have learned over and over again in the last 5 years is become subtle, become humble, learn to listen to the other, and try to understand why they fear you or don't come close to you. And at the end, from within, only acceptance and love can make you a true leader.
Thank you so much. Beautiful immersion into the powerful message of our scriptures. Thank you so much, Dr. Shruti. With that, I'd like to invite Dr. Harbeen Arora to join me on stage so we can begin with the award ceremony to these beautiful change makers. I'd like to invite Jean Shanonda Bola to come and accept her award as a Woman of the Decade in Thought Leadership. We congratulate you. Calling on Mr. S. Sanildia to come and accept his award as a leader of the decade in corporate leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a warm round of applause. Sushil Kumar Sayal, awarding him as a leader of the decade in infrastructure technology. Calling on Dr. Shruti Narakodar and awarding her as an exceptional woman of excellence at the Women Economic Forum 2018. Our last awardee for this session is Srija Chatterjee as a woman of the decade in innovation and sustainability. We congratulate you for the body of work you continue to deliver. Ladies and gentlemen, please come up for a group photograph. Thank you so much, distinguished panelists, for a beautiful start to what's going to be an incredible week. So thank you for enriching us this morning with your thoughts and inspirations. Thank you. And with that, we begin our next session. There's never a dull moment in this hall. You remember, right? My name is Mansi, and I want to invite my colleague Manu to take it over from here. Bring it on, Manu!
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys remember me from last year, but last year was my first year hosting, and I've been a member of WEF for the last 5 years. So it's my 5th anniversary with WEF. So I'm sure some of you are new, some of you've been around for a decade or so. So a big round of applause for everybody that's in the room, and me and Mansi are going to come up with some strategies later on to get you all more engaging. But with that, what we'll do is we'll start our next session. Just a little bit about the time. We have a half an hour session. This bell will be ringing at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So you have 30 seconds after that, and we're going to go crazy ringing it. That means you have to get off the stage. Otherwise, we will get yelled at. So I hope I can trust everybody on that factor, so we're not getting in trouble. So with that, we'll start our next session. It's in conversation with young leaders, creating a better world for all. Our first speaker is Ana Garcia. She is from New Mexico State University, USA. Let's get the claps going so they're on the stage. They're from Mexico, so coming from really far away. Is that right, Ana? Let's get the claps going for Ana. Next we have Angelina Palumbo. She's also from New Mexico State University, USA. A big round of applause. Next we have Aditi Anand. She is from Invest India, International Investment Promotion, India. Big round of applause for Aditi. Next we have Shruti Kaur, Miss Teen Universe 2017. Shruti, are you here? Okay, so we will wait for her. Next we have Sudarshan Chaudhary, founder and director of Spiral Farmhouse. Next we have Urvashi Singh, owner Urvashi Retreat Manali, editor-in-chief of Rajputana Collective. Next we have Akash Neeraj Mittal, author of It Was Her Fault and creator at Flipkart Resume from India. A big round of applause. So we have 3 speakers. This must be Neeraj or Akash. Akash. Okay, wonderful. Big round of applause for Akash. So with that, we will invite Ana Garcia to come up on stage. She is from New Mexico State of University, and you take a few minutes and tell us about yourself. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Ana Garcia. I am actually from Mexico, but I'm studying at New Mexico State University in the U.S. My career started like a little 10 years ago, more or less. I decided to go for culinary school. I wanted to be a chef, but I never thought about how big the industry is. So when everything started, I had just one thing on my mind, but along the way, everything changed it. And I met a lot of people from different parts of the world that have changed my life, and they made me realize how big the industry is and how much you can do out of it. And make you realize how much you have to care about the people in and out of it. Little did I know when I was 17, 18 years old, I will be here one day, but for sure it's unexpected what changed your life. And I'm so thankful to be here right now. And I'm sure I'm going to take the best out of it, everybody here, from amazing men and women here today. And for sure I'm going to take everything with me today home in the U.S. and Mexico for sure. I get a little nervous. Okay, so I have so many plans for me right now, but I'm sure along the way it will be different, and of course I will have to make my best effort, and I will have to take data from everybody here from you. So thank you so much for having me today and for having us here, and I'm so glad to be sharing this with everybody and with my Aggies here today with us.
Where's Auntie? Auntie, get up.
My Aggies.
Big round of applause, Ana. From New Mexico. Is that how I say it? Mexico.
Yes.
Wonderful. I will bring on Angelina Colombo. A big round of applause for Angelina. Take her away.
So my name is Angelina Colombo, and I'm the first female director of education abroad at New Mexico State University, which I'm super proud about. So New Mexico State University is a Hispanic serving institution. We have about 60% of our students coming or identifying as Hispanic. And with that brings some challenges as a director of education abroad. So one of those challenges is creating access for students to be able to go abroad and have an international experience because of economic status, because of cultural differences and things like that. And so one of the things that I've been charged to do as the Director of Education Abroad is to really inspire students. And I love that. I love that my job inspires students. I think I have the best job in the world. And a lot of people say, wow, you have the best job in the world. So it's not just me thinking so. So one of the things that I was able to do this past year is create a program called the Global Citizens Project. And this project allows students who had never traveled outside of the United States to go and have an international experience. And being from New Mexico, we don't have a lot of resources, and so I was able to fundraise and help 11 students go and have an experience outside of their state. A lot of our students haven't even left the state, let alone the United States, even though we're right on the border with Mexico. And so one of the things that I love is I get to inspire, I get to create, I get to help empower students to find their passion, whatever they want to do, outside of what they think is normal, whatever they think that their family wants them to do. And so I really encourage everybody to find whatever that passion is that you have inside of you to help inspire and create that space for other people. The second challenge that we have is just the mindset. We really want to make sure that these students that are growing up don't think that they have to stay in a provincial life, that they can really see the world from other perspectives and other points of view. I wanted to also talk about the students that are here today. So I'm here co-leading with Claudia Trueblood, a group of 8 amazing women leaders, all in the agricultural field from New Mexico State University. They're like my kids, but I want to say my older sister, I'm the older sister, not the mom. But they're an amazing group of women, and one of the challenges for me was, how am I going to hang out with 10 women for 11 days? You know, being around women, sometimes those challenges can happen, but I've really learned a lot from every single one of you. I'd love for you to stand up and be recognized. of them have been here except for one person. And they're really just inspiring to be around and to learn from. And I love just being a part of that. And I know that this conference is really going to teach me a lot as well. And I'm looking forward to learning from all of you as well. So I want to thank just the recognition. I'm really humbled by this experience. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you. So if you want to come up and talk to any of us, we would love to learn from you and hear from you on an individual basis as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Angelina. Thank you for all that wealth of knowledge and bringing these programs so, people from the US can travel to other countries and educate and just learn about different cultures. So thank you for being with us this morning. Next I have Aditi Anand. Is she with us? And I'm guessing you're Mrs. Sudarshan Chaudhary. Okay, I will bring up Mrs. Sudarshan Chaudhary on stage, founder and director of Spiral Farmhouse from Nepal. A big round of applause for Sudarshan.
Thank you. Good morning. Namaste from Nepal. Today is a very happy moment and result for me. We all are thinking about better world. But where we are going, that is the most important thing for us. When I finished my master's, and I'm thinking about this, then I decided to go back to my farm. My grandfather and father, generation by generation, they all are farmers. But now, lots of youths are not want to go to farm. Because in Nepal we have all family farmers, little small farmers. They have no good income from farming. So youths are going to want to go urban area. So, because farmers are not educated, most of people are thinking that farmers who are not educated, they go to farm. But when I finished my master's, I decided to go back farm. In the past, my father is not agree with me. But when I decided to go back to farm and start organically, he is not agree with me. Because organic way is not good way to good income, and we can produce more product from farm. But when I decided to do in organic way and practice, make it a good income and a good way to show that our land is going good way and production is going well, and I educate them to why we are need to do organic farming, and why it is good for our nature, environment, our soil, our everything. So now he is agree with me, and now he is teaching others. That is a good success for me. And now, so this is a great moment for me. We all are coming many countries, various countries, but we are thinking a better world. So why we are not work for our environment, for our mother earth? Let's think about it. Work for it. How we contribute for our environment and our mother earth. Without our environment and our mother earth, we can't alive here. So my request to you all, please think about our environment. How we contribute for our environment, our mother earth. How we save next generation. We are thinking about better generation, better life. So think about it. And from my farm, now I started to making compost by myself and giving to other farmers who do not believe in organic farming. So they are now believing how it's working well. And I'm practicing biodynamic farming in Nepal. And also I'm teaching youths and women who are engaging in farming. So I want to change my area from farming. And now I also started school for better education, Bardoli school. In my area, the lady called Indira Rana Magar, who is a lady who is working with the prison children and helping lots of poor people and vulnerable people. Now, lots of women who are working a very good way and good hearts. So this Women Economic Forum is a better place for me because women have a good hearts. In Nepal, we are saying women are we can see in women love care. So women, all women, we need to do care our Mother Earth. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudarshan. Big round of applause for all the commendable work you're doing. I totally agree with him that we are the ones that are going to be protecting our Mother Earth. So we need to be doing everything that we can, especially biodegradable products, getting rid of plastic. So thank you for, inspiring other youngsters to be doing that all the time. A big round of applause for you coming all the way from Nepal. And our last speaker for this session is Mr. Akash Neeraj Mittal, author, It Wasn't Her Fault, and creator, Flipkart Resume. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. As introduced, my name is Akash Neeraj Mittal, and I am a storyteller. I've written a book called It Wasn't Her Fault, which is a true story based on the life of a rape survivor. She was raped at the age of 15. So today I'm going to tell you a small story of my journey of writing this book. Few of the things which I'm going to tell you today will hit your heart, few of them will hit your mind. But one thing is assured, they will definitely hit you. So here we go. So this journey started in the first semester of my college when one day I met Aman, the male protagonist of this book, and he told me about the incident which happened with Kavya. She was raped at the age of 15. Well, that wasn't the first time I was hearing about a rape incident, but I don't know why. The moment I heard about it, something happened inside me. I felt some kind of pain which was too uncanny for me. Till that day, I definitely used to feel bad about such incidences, but I never felt so uneasy. I realized that it was because this time it had happened to someone whom I was connected to. Well, for the next few days I couldn't sleep. Some kind of mental tornado had sprung up there in my skull, which was not letting me forget any of the words which Ann said go off my mind. The incident, the trauma which Kavya went through, the events which happened afterwards, and the things which Ann wanted to know about the society and the way we treat the rape survivors, they all got stuck somewhere in my mind and were killing me slowly. I became too restless and didn't know what to do. So one night I just called my mom and told her everything. And this is what she said to me. You know, Akash, this is a problem. We as a society don't understand how heinous this crime is and what it does to a person. We normally hear about an incident, feel about it, and then forget it the next day. You used to do this until now, didn't you? Today you are in pain because it has happened to someone whom you were connected to. So this is what I want to tell you. In order to evolve as a society, there is a strong need to step into the shoes of the victim. And only then we can understand the pain a rape victim goes through. So if you are really hurt and you want to do something for your friend and millions of girls like her, then just go and try to connect the people with the plight of a rape survivor. I'm sure good things will start happening after that. These were my mom's words and they made such a great impact on me that day I decided I would share that story with the world. But the next question was how? I knew only two ways of reaching out to the masses. One was making a movie, which apparently required a lot of resources, which I didn't have. Second was writing a book, which altogether required different sets of skills, even which I didn't have. My English was horrible, I lacked patience, book reading was something I never loved to do, and I hadn't written even a single essay in my entire lifetime. This was me 6 years back. But I've always believed when you try to do something from your heart, your passion to do that, it beats away all your weaknesses. Since I wasn't capable enough of doing it alone, God sent few wonderful people in my life, and then it took me 3.5 years to come up with It Wasn't Her Fault. So this is the story of how I became the author. I'm not a writer due to some passion for writing. I'm a writer due to a purpose. I wanted to share a story with the world and just chose writing as a medium to do that. Well, at this moment I would like to share something else as well. So when I was writing this book, I traveled throughout the country. I met a lot of people who have gone through some kind of sexual abuse in their life. So one day I met this girl and she said something about her experience which I will quote here. She said, Akash, that day this incident happened with me, I didn't feel as much pain as I felt after that. I still remember that scene. He was on me and he was doing all sort of bad things with me, and he said, I will destroy your life. And look, he really did. After the incident, everybody left me. My friend, my relatives, my boyfriend, they just went away from my life. I've never been able to understand that, when we have to do big protests or write big posts on social media, you will see a lot of people leading the way. survivor, be with her as a moral and mental support, and you don't see any faces. These are her words, and I didn't know what to say because whatever she was saying was absolutely true. We are heartless bunch of creatures who do every possible thing to make their life torturous. I'm sorry if my words are hurting you and I'm not sounding like a nice guy, but this is the reality, isn't it? Izzat Lutgai. It's a Hindi word. I'm sure a lot of my Hindi-speaking friends know what it means. It means you have lost your respect. So in India, we use this sentence very often to express the aftermath of a person who is raped. I don't understand this. Like robbery and murder, rape is a crime which is done by a criminal. But then why only in the case of rape we use the sentence? Is the owner of a girl lies in her vagina? And if that's the case, who the hell has kept it there? Nobody knows it. In the last 6 years, I've asked this one question. Will you marry a rape survivor? To more than 1,000 people. In 80% of the cases, I have received a straight no. I don't know why are we like this. Why can't we accept them as a sister, as a wife, as a girlfriend, as a normal human being? Why don't we understand that one rape was enough to rip them apart for the rest of their life? They are not capable of bearing anything else. None of us are. So I'll end my talk with one thing I've always believed. No matter what, rape is and will never a girl's fault. Period.
Is a topic that is close to everybody's heart right now, whether it be a male or a female. And I agree with you, we should be looking at them as criminals, and I think, our laws now are changing because of that, because everybody is raising their voice against this crime. So thank you for writing about it because of your passion about it, not because, you were a writer, but that passion came out of you. So thank you for supporting this cause so much. Big round of applause. With that, I will start our awards for the 4 speakers that are with us. It's in conversation with young leaders creating a better world for all. And our first awardee is Ms. Ana Garcia, New Mexico State University, for young leaders creating a better world for all. Thank you, Ana, for being here with us. Next, we have Angelina Colombo, New Mexico State University, USA, Young Leaders Creating a Better World for All. A big round of applause. Next, I will bring up Sudarshan Chaudhary, founder and director of Spiral Fawn House from Nepal. Receiving Young Leaders Creating a Better World for All. The last, we have Akash Mittal, author of the book It Wasn't Her Fault, and creator. Thank you very much. These are our new and inspiring leaders we have on stage. So bring them up for a quick photo. I know it's early morning, but we have our next session at in about now. So we'll have Mansi lead that for you.
Take a moment to thank really all the young leaders in this room. This year we made a very conscious choice of including and making sure that we have the leaders of the now with us in this conference because, hey guys, girls, you are the ones. So I want to thank all those young leaders sitting over there who walked in this morning. I hope that watching young leaders on this platform is igniting and awakening your dreams and your drive as well. And although we have young leaders from the US, from India, from Israel, from the Czech Republic, and from Nepal, and from different parts of India as well. So all you young people, I am so, so grateful that all of you are here. So a warm, special welcome to all of you.
Thank you so much. With that, we keep rolling before time, every time. Our next session is the economics of goodness in creating business and social impact. It's going to be a very enlightening, multicultural session you will see in just a moment. We have a distinguished list of panelists here that it's my privilege to invite on stage this morning. So Nicola Grace, do we have you with us, Nicola? Yes, absolutely. She's the founder of the Mission Mastery Academy, coming all the way from Australia. Kezia Kamau Mukiri. Welcome, Kezia. She's the CEO of Ignite Trade Africa, coming from Kenya. Welcome. Let's keep clapping for a couple of minutes. Blood circulation, no other reason, promise. Joanne A. Hamilton. Welcome, Joe. Founder and CEO of Rare Birds Unit, coming from... So I went to check with her. They're coming from China. It's like, that's the world we live in, the beauty of the world we live in. Giving it up for Joanne Hamilton. A veteran here, seeing her for the second time. Bumili Masweli. Please forgive my Afrikaans. You're going to have to correct me. CEO of Hisset Consulting, coming from South Africa. Wait, are we clapping? Yes, we are, right? Yes. No, we're not stopping. Catherine Ward. Welcome, Catherine. Ladies and gentlemen, did you put your hands together or did you stop? Founder Catherine Ward Consultants Limited, coming from United Kingdom. Woo-hoo! Kavita M. Prakash. Kavita, do we have you in the room? We will have you soon. Bhavna Srivastava. Woo-hoo! Founder and CEO of Bhavna Wellness Group, coming from USA. Ria Singhal. Ria. Radhika Bhella. Parvati Menon. Anju Handa. Welcome, Anju. She's the CEO of Green from India. Equal diversity. Beautiful. All women, all shining women. Welcoming Parvati Menon, the Managing Director of Innovation Alchemy Consulting Private Limited. Simonetta. I will try again. Simonetta Cavalieri. Yay! I got the thumbs up! President of Social Innovation Society, coming from Italy. Welcoming Simonetta. I'd like to initiate this beautiful, enlightening conversation this morning by inviting Nicola to speak with us. Welcome, Nicola.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to start off by saying thank you so much to Dr. Habeen Aurora for this amazing event, bringing together change makers and social entrepreneurs from around the world. We're talking about the economics of goodness in business and social impact, which is my favourite subject. And I want to start off by talking about what we do at the Mission Mastery Academy, because where our focus is 100% on helping entrepreneurs create social enterprises that not only fulfill their purpose, but they have some kind of a give back to help those that are most in need in our society. So what we're seeing with this great consciousness awakening around the world, it's permeating into business, and it's changing the way we think of business. So many people are coming to us saying, I really want to help the needy, but at the same time I've got to pay my bills and I want a lifestyle. So how can I help the poor? How can I give of my talents to them? And we've come up with a business model that follows a law of nature approach, using Mother Nature to have a give back. So for example, we at the Academy, we're training entrepreneurs, we're helping monetize them, and then we give back to budding entrepreneurs we find on the streets of India and Africa or in Latin America who would never get top-level business education, and we're giving it to them. So they get to sit online, because they all have mobile phones now, so technology is allowing us to do this. They get to sit next to big entrepreneurs, wealthy entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs with a social conscience. They get to sit right next to them online and hear what they're doing, hear their journeys, hear their struggles, and learn from them, and we educate them. And I just want to finish off with a story of a beautiful, beautiful woman we met when in Goa. She's selling pashminas, and I just started crying because I knew that the model that we have, where we give back and we're going to end up helping her, teaching her good sales skills, how to sell pashminas to Westerners. Because she was trying to sell based on colour, and I was trying to buy based on gifts. And just a simple thing that we can do as entrepreneurs to pass on our gifts to these budding entrepreneurs on the streets, raise them up out of poverty, is going to make a huge difference. So now she's going to start talking to people, what about your grandmother? Have you got a business coming up? A birthday coming up? Who else can you buy for? It's a really simple way that not only can we help her raise her up out of poverty, selling more pashminas, but she has a dream to become a teacher. So eventually she may end up building a shop and then going on to do what her heart of hearts wants her to do. And early on in the speaker was talking about, you know, the maya of being focused always on making a living. And what I love about our social model is it says, well, yes, let's make a living, but let's change the world while we're doing it. And I fully believe that when we en masse start making money by making a social impact, not only are we going to change the world, we're actually going to change the monetary system itself. And we're already changing that. Manchester University has just done a survey saying the social enterprises are outperforming traditional businesses by 30%. In India, which leads the way on social entrepreneurship, you have a 50% growth in social enterprises compared to 7.5% growth of traditional businesses in the West, which is phenomenal. And and finally, I just want to reiterate for everybody to be thinking about what social good are you offering to other people when they're working with you and when they're trading with you, because it's becoming a necessity for all of us in all enterprises and all businesses. And I look forward to talking to you about that in my other talks and throughout the next 5 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicola, for being with us and sharing your beautiful journey and the work that you're doing. I want to ask you, did you say the Maya of? You did. That is so beautiful. So the illusion of always wanting to create money, because that's what I wanted to double check with her. So thank you so much for, you know, quoting right from our thoughts and from our hearts. I'd like to invite Simonetta to please speak with us. She's coming from Italy and the president of Social Innovation Society. Welcome.
Buongiorno a tutti. Simonetta Cavalieri. Okay. No, no. Hello everyone. And I just want to say what's a pleasure that okay? That's okay? What's special is to be here talking to you all today about a topic I am extremely passionate about, a goodness economy. But before we get into the details, I want to talk to you about change and transformation. Why?
Humanity doesn't face important changes very frequently. Now, when it does, every aspect of society undergoes transformation, from administration to health, energy, institution, technology, art, even science. Today, we are in the middle of one of these transformations. Now, we have learned and experienced everything we can from the past industrial revolutions, and now, the so-called age of technology is introducing changes that go beyond the confines of technology. Let's look at some example of this that highlights these changes, like the immigration in the Mediterranean or what's happening between Mexico and the USA. These are all examples of these changes, and what I want them to do. You have to think, what does these phenomena represent? What social needs? How can I understand these phenomena in terms of social needs? Beyond international agreement and integration, have you asked yourself what are the thoughts and dreams of the immigrants, and what concrete answer can we give to these thoughts and dreams? Now, why we believe in terms of these questions, we also to move our source in terms on another phenomenon that's in constant evolution. This shift from the post-industrial economic model to another one is more emphasized and even made by European politics in terms of knowledge economy. I want you to focus on a new model of growth and competitiveness based on the development of intellectual property, patent, new raw materials, and inevitably new business models. Models that create new relationships between companies and citizens, companies and workers, companies and scientists. That models also they are creating good example about new companies. Now again, what social needs? Like a scenario like that could be created. What answer can we give to this argument? Well, this is what I believe. To receive effect from a goodness economy, we begin to start from what I spoke in the beginning, change and transformation. People assume that phenomena come from causes, but they never even stop and question why or how it's happened. That's why today I don't want to talk about crisis, but for a different phenomenon of different phases of phenomena of change, because in my opinion is more important. Understanding changes at cultural, social, and economic level, by new opportunities can be given to companies. And if you want to rationalize them in terms of goodness economy, first we need to understand and learn how can read these changes, how can map the needs and the signal they create, and also unify the expertise and skills and prepare answer on regard to business. That's creating synergies. Today, the majority of business are all around basis on in terms of economic parameter and an economic algorithm. Production is the consumption as market to communication. And what does it mean? It means that works, society, and also information are all measured through the economics parameter. But in this journey, also there are companies that who already understood the importance of social needs, and they are creating a business, social business will finish social business that create a new value. They are also not creating just profit, but also the benefits to the community. In Italy, we have understood this journey, and we started this journey, and to arrive to that, also we want to create, to change the paradigm from economy
politics and culture to another two paradigms from culture, economy, and politics. So, what I believe is that today we women we can combine our energy, our knowledge, and working together and transforming these ideas into something real.
Thank you, Simonetta. Thank you so much for sharing the Italian perspective and for also sharing the social impact entrepreneurial journey with us. Thank you. I'd like to invite Kezia Kumar Mukiri to share her journey with us. She's the CEO of Ignite Trade Africa, coming from Kenya.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Some energy, good morning. So, I would like to share my little journey in social entrepreneurship and what it is that we are doing in Nairobi, in Kenya, and most importantly as an individual, because every journey starts with what you do as a person. In 2007, at the age of 26, and at the height of a well-forming legal career, having just graduated with a degree in law and a master's in international relations, I set out of a very well-paying job and started my entrepreneurial journey. And what motivated me then were, I think, two things that still drive me to date. One of them was the desire to be more and to do more, to have an impact with my skills, with my talent, with my capabilities, and recognizing that I was coming from a community that did not have as much adequacy or as much education that I did. The second desire or drive was to make a real impact in my community in the sense of job creation, and therefore contribute to what is now SDG 1, no poverty, by creating sustainable and continuous reliable employment for young people and for women who did not have the kind of skill set that I had. I also wanted to impact my community through the deployment of wealth generated from business in different community programs. And back then, we set out with targeted three community programs that we wanted to have a reach on, and that is what has kept me steady for the last 11 years in business. The first thing that we did in thinking about how to provide sustainable employment was to target young people and women. And at some point, it was said jokingly in my organization that there was too much estrogen because we deliberately went out just to, empower women and not just give them a job, but inculcating them leadership skills that saw a lot of my employees then transit into business. Over the years, the last 11 years, we have created about 1,200 direct and indirect jobs, empowering different people, not just employing them, but also empowering my own employees to start their own businesses and ensuring that those businesses are steady and that they are contributing to the community in their own ways. And by providing sustainable employment, like I say, we contribute to the attainment of the SDGs. SDG 1, no poverty. SDG 5, which is my favorite, gender equality. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. And if we can inculcate a culture of building enterprises for social good, then we ensure that across the board there is economic good that is happening in our community. And then SDG 10, reducing inequalities. There is no way that we are going to reduce inequalities across the globe unless we can build sustainable, profitable businesses that have a social orientation, that are there to build our communities. In 2015, we initiated a coaching and mentoring program to find ways of coaching women that were going into business. I had no entrepreneurial background, like I said, I had a legal background. I had no entrepreneurial background. One would think that having a solid education makes you a good entrepreneur. It does not necessarily make you a good entrepreneur. So I discovered if I could use my own experience in business to build other women going into business, then we'll have a multiplier effect. And out of that coaching program, there are at least 11 sustainable and profitable enterprises that I can point out that are now employing others. So I don't have to do it myself, but if I can empower somebody else, then that multiplier effect happens. Lastly, one of my favorite programs in the business is our education program. We have over the last few years taken girls through high school and working through getting them into university. Our first cohort graduates from high school this year. One of the students in our education program attempted suicide out of the realization that there was no hope. Even after excelling in primary school, there was going to be no hope for her. But by using business to take girls through school, we not only give hope to the next generation, but we actually empower them to do good when they get to that place when they can do good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Talia, and thank you for highlighting the fact that as an individual, once we become an instrument of the universe, everyone and everything around us just kind of falls into place and works with us. So thank you so much for bringing that beautiful Kenyan perspective. I'd like to invite Anju Handa to share her journey with us next. She's the CEO of Greens. Welcome.
First of all, I would like to welcome all the audience here, especially from across the border, across the world. They are guests to our country, India, so I give them a special welcome for being here. I would like to thank Hazeen Arora for creating this platform. I think this is a beautiful platform, and I feel very humbled and honored to be here amongst all the audience over here who have come all over the world. I think I feel very honored to be here standing on this dais and sharing stage with so many well-renowned personalities from the world. So to start with, I would like to say that last WEF session when I attended, I was literally blown away with the magnitude of inspiration all around. I think I was sitting here and listening to many women entrepreneurs and their journey, and I was literally very impressed and very motivated and inspired from many of them. And I think every woman in this world, or in my country, or sitting here, they inspire many other women every moment. And each woman is a power-packed woman, and they can inspire many women around. So that is the best part about being a woman. I think recently I have written a book on inspiring entrepreneur, journey from can I to I can. Once upon a time, we always think that can we do a certain thing, but down the time, sometimes we understand, yes, once we venture into it, we start doing a particular thing, and then we realize that yes, we can. So this book has the stories of 19 women entrepreneurs, all from India, venturing into different professions, and they have written their story of their success, their failures, their determination, and all the hurdles they have faced. Coming back to myself, as each one of you know that myself, Anju Handa, and I am the CEO of Greens. I'm running an event company, but I feel very proud to tell you that I don't have any technical background of this field where I am in. I belong to a very small town in Punjab, that is called Bachala. It is an industrial town, and when I was doing my schooling and I finished my schooling, suddenly my father told me that I have taken your admission to one of the college which gives you a subject medical subjects. I never had any clue what is these all subjects are all about. I think 40 years back we never had that kind of choices and that kind of opportunities or that kind of a vision to choose a subject like today children have. So when I went to that college, and when I was in second year, suddenly I realized when the frog came in front of me to dissect, I realized, oh my God, how I will do this. So this is not my cup of tea. I cannot cut a frog, in front of me, that cockroach and that rabbit. So all sort of animals were coming in front of me, and I was literally in a depression, like how I will complete my studies. But somehow I could complete my study because there were no other opportunities available. Then finally I landed up, finished my graduation, and I went to Bangalore, and then finally landed up in Delhi. So once I was in Delhi and I started working in a school, that was again a coincidence in my life. then I realized my true potential. I realized that I am not made for all that things which I was doing. I am a very creative person, so doing my job in a school, I realized my potential, and after that there was no looking back. I established my company, and then I employed many people, and I empowered many women. So then I realized, like, this is what I really wanted to do. But today, women have lots and lots of opportunities. They have sky to touch, they have vision, they have dedication, they have many areas to explore. Time limits doesn't permit me to speak much, but one thing I would like to share from this platform is that if you are empowered, if we all sitting in this room and in this Women Economic Forum, we are here, we are empowered. So it is our responsibility to empower many more around who do not have a voice also. So let them give the voice of our being aware and make them also very powerful and empowered. This is what I would like to say, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
The unstoppable Anju, thank you so much for your powerful words this morning, Anju. I'd like to invite Joanne A. Hamilton. Yes, from China.
Okay, I have so much to say. I'm petrified of that. Don't be. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you to Arlene and everyone who's here, and thank you for giving me some time to share my definition of consciousness with you. So there may be some skeptics in the audience, and you're probably thinking to yourself, what on earth is the economics of goodness? Is that even a thing? What does that mean? How do we measure that? Is that tangible? Is this just some kind of new wave thing that these millennial people have come up with? So I want you to give me a few minutes of your time to explain this to you, and hopefully you'll get what I'm trying to expound on. I think that the economics of goodness is defined by consciousness. I think that today's consumer is less about a service and they're more about a feeling and an experience. They want heart. They don't want to feel like they're going through a drive-through, okay? So now you're thinking, okay, so how do we measure this consciousness? I think that this consciousness is measured firstly by having specific and achievable goals. I also think it is tangible when we design products and services that address social needs and really impact the lives of people. We see when businesses start accessing new markets, which were traditionally unserved or have always been underserved. I'm doing a session on modeling and businesses from marginalized communities. So for example, think about marginalized communities. How can we do better for these communities? How can we bring consciousness to these communities? This is again the economics of goodness. And it looks like the improvement of lives, and it's an opportunity to explore innovative ways of operating and generating business models which center collaboration and the mobilization of people. So lastly, the economics of goodness in creating business and social impact is a movement. It is all, A-L-L, of us here, together for the next 6 days, okay? We're going to be reconceiving, we're going to be redefining, we're going to be reimagining. Imagine me, I'm from China. I just don't look it, right? Okay? We're going to be enabling, we're going to be facilitating, and we're going to be sharing. So this is how we create the economics of goodness. So this is our opportunity again to get together, to think about the work that we do, not our jobs, but the work. So collectively and in earnest, I encourage all of us, we should not waste time. Let's get on with it, the economics of goodness.
Absolutely fabulous. I think we couldn't have said it better. Really, thank you. No, I stop. Not a drive-through, but a feeling, an immersion, an experience. That's what we're talking about, and that is what we're going to try to do every moment in this room for the next 6 days. So if you're here and you're not doing this, for that, something's amiss. So let's reconnect the dots, and with that, I'd like to invite Parvati Menon. Welcome, Parvati, the Managing Director of Innovation Alchemy Consulting Private Limited. It's a pleasure. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me over, Harbeen. I really appreciate the invite and the opportunity to share a little bit of what we are doing. I run two organizations. One of them is called Innovation Alchemy. This I set up about 10, 12 years ago with the focus, and I've been spending a lot of time working on innovation in India as a consultant, spending a lot of time working with large corporate organizations which were looking to expand their markets in emerging economies. And all my projects took me again and again back into what this emerging market in India is, and it's not just in India, it's across Latin America, across all the Africas, across also South Asia. And what I found was very interesting, that there are a huge number of very interesting people working on the real solutions that were necessary in that emerging economy. And the problems with water, drinking water, the problems were agriculture, and the fact that people were moving away from agriculture. There were issues in women in terms of nutrition. There were issues in children who were dying as a result of being born underweight but having no simple incubation services. So it's very interesting that there is a contradiction in the method in which we actually apply a lot of management thought. That management thought is available for everyone to apply, but interestingly, large corporate organizations have the capacity to apply it. They have the capacity to hire a lot of senior people and consultants to apply that. But a lot of social entrepreneurs who are working on the ground and actually solving more difficult problems don't have access to all of this fantastic learning that sits there in terms of management principles. And so when I set up Innovation Alchemy, the idea was, how can we help people working in social innovation and bring to them the best techniques that are available in large-scale business to apply to their problems? Because those businesses, however small they are today, and however impactful they are, they really do need to grow. Without us being able to scale the size of our solutions, in a country like India, we will, in another 10 years, still be talking about not enough education, not enough food, too much malnutrition, women dying of hunger, women being underfed in prenatal stages. And it just seems odd that we might still be talking about it 10 years from now because we haven't applied our best energies over there. So that's really where Innovation Alchemy works. We work across stakeholders. We work with corporate organizations, we work with institutional banks like the World Bank, we work with development agencies like DFID, and at the end of the day, we try to facilitate the magic that is happening in entrepreneurship and innovation at grassroots to try and be able to make that happen. And about 3 years ago, having done a lot of work in this space, it became clear to me that a large part of our challenge, again in this emerging economy, is because we have unfortunately not been able to provide livelihoods at the base of the pyramid. And at the base of the pyramid, there is agriculture. We are, in India, a largely agrarian economy. 50% of our population works in agriculture, but only 12% of it actually contributes to GDP, which means that the contribution of 50% of people working in agriculture is so little that it doesn't even contribute to their own lives. And so, how do we make that change happen? And we did a lot of research and thinking in that, and we found increasingly that we were solving the wrong problems. We are solving problems of employment in urban areas. How do we handle migrant labor into urban India, whereas actually the challenge is in being able to handle that in agriculture. So we set up Fresh Harvest Private Limited. I chose to become a farmer. That's my second business. And today we are demonstrating how farming can be a very profitable enterprise. And we have demonstrated a sustainable method to be able to do mid-sized farming. And we are now encouraging more urban entrepreneurs to come into farming so that starts to create non-farm jobs and starts to really make a shift happen. So when we talk about the economics of goodness, in my mind, the definition is really how do we apply robust principles to being able to really create change, dynamics, and speed at the base of the pyramid. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Parthi, we want to hear more from you because what you've initiated is a very relevant discussion to everything we're talking about, but a very different perspective of it. So thank you for for building the bridges that you build and for sharing that with us. Thank you. I'd like to invite Wamili Musweli. Welcome. She's the CEO of Hisset Consulting, coming from South Africa.
Coming from South Africa, we have 11 official languages. So I'll say this morning and only greet you in 3. Zulu, I'd say Sanibona. Xhosa, Molweni. And in India, so I'll say Namaste.
Oh, beautiful.
The economics of goodness is in essence reaching out to our humanity whilst providing profit. We have a beautiful saying. We say izandla ziyagezana. One hand washes the other. Business, social impact. We live in a world where the fastest growing economies are no longer in the West. They're in Asia and they're in Africa. They're in South America. They are in places where business cannot continue to occur without social impact. The way we do business has to change. The term Ubuntu is an African perspective. It was coined by the Ngunis, which has several tribes. And I'm proud to say I'm Zulu, which is part of those tribes. The concept of Ubuntu comes from the root word Bantu, meaning people, meaning human. Umuntu, umuntu, ngabantu. I am because you are.
Yeah.
That is Ubuntu. What that means is that the way we do business has to look into the humanity of ourselves. It has to mean that capitalism, without conscience, cannot continue to thrive. We are in a room with women and men who are passionate about saying the change in our world and saying we will leave a more profitable in every sense